Hey everyone. Okay, so another email I'm going to answer here. This gal asked to remain anonymous, and she writes, "Hi Suzanne, I love listening to your podcast. Thanks for giving a voice in the media to what so many women feel but are afraid to express in today's egalitarian society. I am 25 and I've been dating my wonderful boyfriend for about half a year. We talk about getting married. We both want kids, and he supports me wanting to stay home while our kids are young to be present while raising them. This is so important to me because my mom always wanted to work less and be home with me more when I was growing up, and I always wanted more time to spend with my full time working mom. Something I worry about is my boyfriend's and my different views on cohabitation prior to engagement. He says that he would like to live together before getting engaged. I do not want to make this mistake again. In my last relationship, which lasted 2 years, my ex and I moved to a different state together and we moved in together, and breaking up with him while we were cohabitating was the worst thing ever. I explained to my boyfriend that I don't want to play wife without the ring, which he did not take particularly well. He's never lived with a girlfriend. He says I'm the only girl with whom he has ever felt serious about building a life together. Um, okay. But bottom line is, her question is, how can I express to him that living together before engagement is not the answer? So I wanted to take this opportunity for anybody who's listening, because I think this is very common, that somebody wants to live together before getting married. Very often, it can be, both women and men are doing this today, definitely, but they are not doing it with the same intent. The research shows that women are more often than not thinking that this is the next step in the relationship on the way to the altar, while a man thinks it's just testing the relationship to see if it's a good fit. So for those of you who want to convince your boyfriend or girlfriend that living together is a bad idea, here are the best arguments I could think of to use. Number one, well, I'm going to talk specifically to the gal who, I won't say her name, but to the gal who wrote me. You don't want to slide into marriage. This is what you want to tell him. You don't want to slide into marriage, but you want to make a purposeful, objective decision. Cohabitation is like a cheap entrance with the idea of having a cheap exit. They want it to be, people think that it's clean and easy and you can test your relationship and whatnot. But more often than not, what ends up happening is you start building a life together as though you're married. It's like you're playing house, and you get so intertwined without the formality that eventually you make it formal, mostly just by sliding into it rather than making a purposeful, objective decision about whether or not this is the person you want to spend your life with. That's the number one problem with cohabitation, is that people are sliding into marriage rather than making a clear, purposeful decision. And this is the most important decision of your life, and you need to make that with objectivity, and that means retaining your own places of residence while that decision's being made. Number two, it is easier to build a financial life together as married people on the same team than it is living together. Living together, you shouldn't even be combining your finances or doing anything yet, because you haven't made anything legal. And there's a whole mess there if you attempt to get involved with somebody financially without being legally married. It's just a bad plan. It's dumb, actually, because you're going to end up, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, because you're going to end up intertwined with somebody with whom you by law you're not married to, and you're going to be connected to him, and it's going to be very difficult to get disconnected. So if you're talking about building, so many people today talk about not getting married because of finances, but actually getting married and being on the same team is going to cause you to make far more headway than not getting married. Number three, research shows that couples who cohabit before marriage tend to be less satisfied with their marriages and more likely to divorce than couples who do not. These negative outcomes are called the cohabitation effect. So you can tell him that as well, that the research is not on your side. And why would you go into something this important without the research being on your side? Yeah, you can try and not be part of the stats, but why do that to yourself? Number four, living together is not a way to test the waters. It just doesn't work that way. And here's why. There's no way that you're going to determine in X amount of months or even a year or two, what's going to happen over the course of a lifetime, decades down the road? Things are going to be coming at you in your relationship all the time, every decade. And there's no way to determine in advance how you're going to respond to all those different things in a year of living with someone. So the whole concept of testing the waters is just silly. You're either committed or you're not. And it's non-committal when you move in together. When you get married, you're in it. There's just something that happens psychologically as a result of that, going through the motions publicly and lawfully, that it's going to change the way you think and approach your relationship. 100%. Number 5, it's really important to keep one's own place and space, even if you're sleeping over at each other's house, which is what, another argument that people make. It may seem like a formality, but it's an important formality because something happens psychologically when you have your own space versus when you're sharing space, like roommates. You're just in a completely different mental state, and you're going to make a better decision when you retain your own space and home. I don't know how else to explain it, except it's night and day, whether you're living with someone and then trying to make a decision about that versus on your own. You need that clarity of being on your own. And then the last one, ironically, the best time to work on your marriage is before you have one. And what that basically means is you want to set things up well before you get married to do your best to ensure that you'll have a good marriage by choosing well. And part of setting that up is living separately and making a decision about marrying someone of a similar background, similar goals and all of that, but not living together first, because you know that's going to, from the stats that's going to work against you. So set your marriage up for success before you even say I do, by doing the things in the right order. So there you have 6 things that you can use to, quote unquote, convince your boyfriend that living together is a bad idea. He will if he's like most men, he will, of all these things, what he will hear loudly and clearly is the building of the financial life together. The finances are going to speak to him more than anything else, for sure. And again, just understanding that not getting married for financial reasons, it just doesn't work. If anything, people get deeper in debt. And if you're planning on getting married, you're going to make a lot more headway together as a team than you would be on your own. So I hope that helps you and anyone else who's listening who does not want to live with their other person and has to explain, why it's not a good idea. As always, we post these episodes on our Facebook fan page. So if you'd like to chime in on anything you've heard here, just go to Facebook and type in the Suzanne Venker Show private group, and it should come right up, and you will find the space to do that there. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great day.